Work to become a safe and loving listener for your spouse, to share his or her deepest feelings, concerns, opinions, and dreams. James 1:19 says, "Understand this, my dear brothers and sisters. You must all be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry." And then Peter says, I'm going to one-up that one. In 1 Peter, he says in 3:7, "Husbands, in the same way, be considerate as you live with your wives, and treat them with respect."
And he doesn't let wives off the hook either. Ephesians 5:33, the wife must respect her husband. So we're called to respect, to be loving, to be considerate, to be quick to listen, slow to speak. So how can we become a safe place for our spouse to share their deepest feelings, concerns, opinions, and dreams? Because to me, this is one of the most important points we'll make tonight. Becoming a safe place for your spouse to really open up and be emotionally vulnerable, to communicate what they're really thinking, what their real hopes are, their real dreams, their real opinions, their feelings. I mean, this is huge, right? This is a huge emotional connection. And I know that women are fond of emotional intimacy, men maybe other kinds of intimacy. But let me just tell you, when a woman's feeling emotionally connected to her man, she's much more willing to do the other kind of intimacy too. So this is huge to make that emotional connection. So I want to give you several ideas that you can just jot down whatever applies to you. If you want to share something deep, if you're the one that wants to share something deep, actually tell your spouse, like on purpose, like ahead of time. Like, you know what? I have something I really want to talk about that's kind of hard for me. I'm going to be emotionally vulnerable with you. So can we just sit down and can you just listen? And I don't need you to fix anything. I just want you to be tender and this is hard for me to have this deep conversation. So can you just be a good listener for a minute? See how I've prepared him? So now he's like, okay, she's going to be sharing something deep. Hopefully he's now kind of preparing himself. Okay, she doesn't want me to fix it. She doesn't want to have a big argument. She just wants to be emotionally vulnerable with me and actually talk about something deep. That would go a huge distance if we could just kind of prepare ourselves. This is a deep conversation I want to have.
And you have to know, brothers, you who are married or going to be married, this is important. You need to stop doing everything else that you had on your agenda. This is more important. When your wife approaches you, or husband, but I'm talking to the guys right now. In this case here, you want to be able to give her your attention. Nothing else matters right now. Okay? So you have to do whatever you need to do. When you put it off, I tell you what, procrastination is not our friend. And when we procrastinate, the enemy has the opportunity to get footholds there. And when I tell her that I don't have time right now because I'm trying to get this taken care of, I'm letting her know that she's not as important as what it is I'm doing. So unless there's somebody underneath the car that they need to get me there to lift it up, I need to pay attention right here. If your spouse is trying to share something deep, pause before reacting to what your spouse shares. And ask the Holy Spirit to show you how to be loving and respectful to your spouse, even if you disagree. Bible-based principle number 2 for improving communication
is something we talked about already, but pause. Pause before reacting. Pause before reacting, especially if you feel your adrenaline surging or if a disagreement erupts during communication. This is when you pause in the communication, right? And there's a Bible verse to go with this.
And we're going to talk about that pause in a little bit also. The Bible verse is Proverbs 12:18. The words of the reckless pierce like swords, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. By the way, you're more prone to lash out when you're super stressed, when you're hungry or you're tired, right? So tell your spouse it's not a good time to talk right now. Go find a way to relieve your stress before having a deep talk. BBP number 3, which is constantly remind yourself to avoid reading between the lines or assuming that you know what your spouse really means or is really thinking. Instead, ask your spouse for clarification as soon as possible. So, Luke 6:37 says, "Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned."
Yeah. So here's what, I don't know about anybody else, but I can jump to conclusions so fast. Does anyone else find yourself like kind of doing that? Come on. Show of hands, really. Who jumps to conclusions and assumes, yes, we all do this, don't we? And it gets us into so much trouble in communication. So when I try to catch myself now, when I start to assume something, it's like I think the Holy Spirit and I are now working together in tandem on this, and it's like the Holy Spirit says, "You're assuming again." And so I try to stop myself and think, okay, did he really say that? Or am I just reading between the lines? Am I jumping to conclusions? And now it's like so interesting, because I've been trying to catch myself at this for a long time now. It's like I don't even have to hardly think about it. I'm like, you know what? The Holy Spirit's just like, no, you're reading between the lines. He never said that.
BBP number 4.
Is ask the Lord to give you the courage to be completely honest and clear about everything your spouse would want to know or should know.
Proverbs 24. An honest answer is like a kiss on the lips. Yes, it's there, just like that. Proverbs 24:26. Sometimes we can be fearful about how our spouse might respond, so we don't give them all the information. Just let a little bit out, right? Not the whole enchilada. But we must trust in God and be honest with our spouses. Psalm 37:5 says, "Commit your way to the Lord. Trust in Him, and He will do this. He will make your righteous reward shine like the dawn."
So, we need to trust in God, be courageous in giving the complete information, but also stop dropping the subtle hints, ladies. And I'm speaking mostly to the ladies because we are the queens usually of the hinting thing, or just assuming that he should know. How in the world is he going to know? Like if I am driving by, I don't know, a florist, and I say I love roses, every woman knows what that means. Stop at the store and get some roses. But he's just thinking like, it's like...
I'm driving, I'm trying to hurry up and get it.
You know? Or when I say, we need to get the vacuuming done. When I say we need to get the vacuuming done, I didn't just say that out loud for no reason, right? I mean, every woman knows that, like, well, I should probably help with the vacuuming. But we don't make it clear. But we just expect that men are going to think like women when they don't. So we need to be much clearer in our communication. Like, if I need help with something, could you do it within the next 15 minutes or the next 2 days or whatever the thing is, but be more clear.
BBP number 5.
Oh, that'd be me. Before speaking, pause to ask yourself if what you're about to say will encourage your spouse, and breathe life into your marriage, or wound your spouse and bring death to your marriage. Not to be overly dramatic, but really, the power of the tongue, huge, right? So, what you're about to say, is it going to encourage your spouse and breathe life into your marriage, or is it going to wound your spouse and bring death to your marriage?